everybody. Welcome. It's that time. Matt Connarton Unleashed, and we are live from the studios of WMNH 95.3 FM in glorious, bright, sunny, a little chilly, but bright, sunny downtown Manchester, New Hampshire. Also on Comcast 97 in Manchester. Streaming at WMNHradio.org. And, of course, you can go to the Matt Connarton Unleashed Facebook page, and you can go to mattconnerton.com, and hello to our friends at Raw Talk Online. And trying to keep everything straight here, I got my second shot of the Pfizer vaccine this morning, and I'm feeling it a little bit, to be honest with you. So if I seem a little discombobulated, I apologize in advance. I'm a little fuzzy-headed. Not bad, though. Not bad. I was very, very tired earlier, like couple hours after I got my shot. I posted something about it on Facebook. I was like, oh man, I am exhausted. But then I had a lot of caffeine. It seemed to help perk me up. And it's, but I'll tell you, I'm a little bit, I don't feel normal. That's for sure. I feel a little bit off, but it wasn't going to keep me from doing the show, certainly. So this is being here with you all for 2 hours definitely gives me a bit of an adrenaline boost. And maybe after the show, I will go home and take a nap. After I got my first shot of the Pfizer vaccine, I remember that was on a Monday, and it wasn't until Wednesday that I got really tired. But I remember that Wednesday, I left here, and I just, I was fine until the end of the show. And then I got to the end, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, I am so tired. And I may have even I think I actually remember, I think I dozed off sitting here as the audio file for my show was uploading to the website. I think I did actually just doze off briefly. And then I went home and I said to Jenny, I am so tired. I can't keep my eyes open. I need to lie down. And I'm just gonna lie down and take a nap. And then so I did, and my nap ended up being about 12 hours. No joke. I woke up the next morning. It just, and then I felt great, then I felt back to normal. But yeah, so hopefully it's not going to be a repeat of this, because when I leave here and go home, I do have some work to do, which I can't do if I'm unconscious. So hopefully I will be able to remain conscious. And this one, like I said, I'm definitely tired, but I am feeling it. But I'm relieved too to get my second shot. So, and then with the Pfizer, from everything I've read, about 2 weeks after the second shot is when you're considered fully vaccinated. So around, I think we said May 10th, we will, at that point here at the station, during my show, we'll revert to, I'll have to check with Peter on what the rules are at the station at that point. I assume it's going to continue where we have to, because we're still in the pandemic, where we'll have to, if we have guests in, just keep them socially distanced. But, if you're a regular listener, I made a decision back in, I think it was in the fall, late fall, when we were approaching that winter surge. I said, I think for my show, we're going to keep a tighter bubble and be a little stricter than the rules of the station and just not have guests outside of the household or other hosts here at the station. But, but now that Jenny and I have both, been vaccinated with 2 shots, and like I said, by May 10th, I'll be considered fully vaxxed. At that point, we'll open it back up and we'll revert to what the rules of the station are at that point. And it'll be nice to have, some of our regulars I haven't seen in person in a long time, like Gonzo or EZG, Texas Mike, who I see in the chat room, and some other people. It's great to have people being able to Skype in and whatnot, and thank God for that technology. But I do miss seeing those folks in person. So, but yeah, I just made the decision back in the fall. It was like, even though, okay, I would keep telling myself, I trust these people to be safe, to keep themselves safe. And as far as I know, none of them have had COVID. But you can be as safe as can be and take every possible precaution and still and still get it, if you're exposed to someone with it. So I just, at a certain point, it was like, what am I doing? Why take the risk? Jenny and I are both high risk. Why am I taking these chances? Might as well tighten that bubble a little bit. So anyway, but yeah, so May 10th, we'll start having studio guests. We do have somebody who's going to be calling in a little bit. Brett Higgins from the band Married Iguana. He's going to be calling in at 4:30 to talk about a show that the band has coming up in May. Now that people are getting vaccinated and New Hampshire, here in New Hampshire, I mean, it's incredible. I think our governor, Chris Sununu, even though I've had some criticism lately of him, and in the past I've had many criticisms on other issues, but I think he's done a phenomenal job. I think the Sununu administration has done a phenomenal job with the vaccine rollout. I mean, if you're a longtime listener, you know how sort of cynical I was at various points about the vaccines, and I remember saying, maybe if I'm lucky, July, August, and here it is April 26th, and I already got my second shot today. So great job. And, now that, with the vaccinations, the local live music scene is ready to kind of open back up. Scott Robinson in the chat says, we need Hopwood. Yes, I would love to. He's another one I miss terribly, having him here in the studio. Plus, he's not great on the phone. No offense, John, if you're listening, I love you, but because John Hopwood does this weird, I don't know what goes on. But when he calls on his phone, it sounds like at one point it sounds like his phone is in front of him, and then it sounds like his phone is behind him, and then it sounds like his phone is in another room, and then all of a sudden it sounds like his phone is like right up against his mouth, and it's like, dude, what are you doing with your phone? So it's very, very difficult to have him on the phone. I have to ride that fader. And if you know anything about audio and running a board, you know what I'm talking about, So he's someone we really need to have in the studio. So I look forward to having him on, so we'll like I said, May 10th, we'll start to get back to some normalcy with that. But I'm struggling, you guys. I really want to lie down and go to sleep right now, but I'm okay. And I'm happy that I got my second shot. But I need to remain hydrated. I got my caffeine intake to keep me awake. Now I need to forgive me while I just take a big gulp of water here. But I went to the Steeplegate Mall in Concord, for both shots, obviously. And they're very, very organized there. I was there bright and early. I was there at 7:30 a.m. So... Melanie says, I hear meth helps boost energy. I have heard that too, Melanie. However, I have also heard that it causes your teeth to fall out. And my teeth are precious to me. Not to brag, but I've never even had a cavity. Can you believe that? I got lucky genetically on that because, to the best of my knowledge, neither of my parents have ever had a cavity either. So as the offspring of parents with perfect teeth, I just have like super indestructible teeth. But anyway... Oh, and the reason, so I opened with, if you were listening to the replay of the morning show, or if you heard the morning show live this morning, you probably figured it out, but I opened with a remix of Hypnotize. Is it Hypnotize or Hypnotize Me? By Wang Chung, one of my favorites growing up. It's Hypnotize Me. I played the Insomnia remix. They were talking a lot about hypnosis and hypnotherapy at the end of... toward the end of the morning show this morning. So, but Easy G was bringing up, he said that he didn't think that hypnosis would be helpful for his sleep issues because he has terrible insomnia, but actually it is useful for that. It is useful for all kinds of things. In fact, I did hear from a listener, I won't say who because that's that was the word, confidential. Sorry. Like I said, I'm struggling a little fuzzy headed. That's confidential unless the prospective client wants to reveal themselves. But I did hear from a client who wants to schedule something. And And on the morning show, so I'm trying to figure this out. And Shaky, if you're listening, and I know there's two different Shakies, so it gets a little confusing, but one of the Shakies, I think the original Shaky, because I think Ron also goes by Shaky, but it wasn't Ron. So it was whoever the other Shaky is, called the morning show and said that he had been to me years ago for a hypnotherapy session when I used to work up in Concord. So for weight loss, and it was very successful for him. So that was wonderful to hear. But I'm trying to remember whoever this client was. I was trying to figure out. I have an excellent memory for names, so if I knew the client's actual name, I'm sure I would remember him. But it was Shaky apparently. But yeah, of course now because of COVID. I do the sessions entirely online using a platform called Doxy.me, which also a lot of medical professionals and psychiatrists and psychologists, therapists, and everybody use. It's very, very cool, very easy, user friendly. So that's how I've been doing them because of COVID, and it didn't make sense to keep an office. But and I do make house calls with that too, but I won't be doing that. I won't be going into anyone's home again until, like I said, May 10th. Once I'm considered fully vaxxed, if it's more convenient for someone, I'll go to them if they're local in the area. But I think the days of having an office that people come to are over. This whole pandemic has been and continues to be, because it's not over yet. But this whole pandemic, as awful as it's been, we do have to find the silver linings where we can. And one of the few silver linings is it has kind of, for many of us, sort of pushed us technologically into being innovative about how we do things. And, like, for example, a lot of companies have employees now who work from home. And a lot of these companies are learning that, you really can have your employees work from home, and it works out okay. And maybe we don't need to be paying all this money for these giant office spaces. We can have our employees work from home. They used to call it telecommuting, but I don't think that term is really used anymore. But, and a lot of, like Jenny with her medical appointments, a lot of those are online now. She doesn't physically go, because everybody's had to the pandemic has forced everybody to kind of open their minds in a way to different ways of doing things. And I remember a time, I'm embarrassed to say, but I remember a time when I was very skeptical of the idea of doing hypnotherapy sessions online until it, became the only way to to keep my career moving, my hypnotherapy career. Contrary to popular belief, I don't have the big Howard Stern contract to do this 2 hours a day every weekday. But almost. But no one makes. No, kidding. But God, what was I saying? Yeah, I'm a little that Pfizer. It's worth it though. I can deal with an afternoon of being a little foggy or maybe this is how I always am. I don't know. I can deal with an afternoon of it. It's better than getting COVID. I even played a song by that name recently called Better Than Getting COVID. I do have asthma. I'd rather not be on a ventilator. But anyway, so the pandemic has kind of forced people to adapt in that way, in many ways. And, and I saw other hypnotherapists actually adapting to that model. Some of them who were already doing hypnotherapy sessions online anyway, and had been, and now of course they were moving their practices entirely online. And I was like, well, what the hell's my problem? Why am I being so stubborn about it? So I did it, and I'm glad I did. So there you go. Let's see. But Eric, if you're listening, yes, of course, it can help. Oh, by the way, I laughed very, very hard too. So we still have in our home, in our apartment, we have a couch, a fold-out couch. So it has a bed in it. And we also have a lounger, and we want to be rid of them because we need more space. So Easy G might take the couch, the fold-out couch. He's waiting to hear back if he's got the apartment that he applied to get. But it was very funny. He's like, Peter White said to him on the morning show, because Eric was on the morning show, and Peter said to him, what if you go to try it out and it smells like Christian Lacoste? But I promise you, Christian Lacoste has not slept in the fold-out bed. I don't know if anyone has slept in the fold-out bed. But if anyone, in case Eric doesn't take the couch, and we also have a lounger. I think Eric is just interested in the couch. I'm not sure, but we do have a couch and a lounger. And we're here in Manchester, New Hampshire. If anyone in the area is interested, let me know. I can send you pictures, message me online, or email me, matt@mattconnarton.com. You can have them for free. They're actually in very good condition. They could use a cleaning, but there's no rips or tears or anything. They haven't even been used that much. But, so you can have them. You just have to come get them, because it's either going to be that or we're going to end up putting them on the sidewalk and paying the city to take them away. But geez, we'd rather give them to someone who needs them. So if anyone needs furniture, let me know. And again, completely free. You just have to, I will help you carry them out, but you have to show up with a vehicle to take them away. What's a lounger? Like you stretch out on it. Am I calling it the right thing? Maybe I'm not using the right word. A lounger. It's like a couch, but it's a lounger. I don't know. I'll post pictures on Facebook later so people can see what I'm talking about. Maybe I'm not using the right word. What do I know? I had my second Pfizer shot today. I'm all discombobulated. But in a few minutes, Brett Higgins will be calling in to talk about the show coming up at Jewel with his band Married Iguana, and then we'll play. I played it the other day, but we'll play it again at the end of our conversation to kind of bookend things. The Flow by Married Iguana, and maybe later in the show we'll play another track too. Really great band. Brett was here actually, along with, was it Alfredo who was with him? Somebody else was with him back when we used to have in-studio guests on a regular basis pre-pandemic. And we had a great discussion. Abigail says, is it like a chaise lounge? Yeah. But for some reason, you don't call it a chaise lounge. You call it a lounger. I don't know why. Look, I'll be honest with you. I'm ignorant to these matters about furniture. I don't, I've never bought furniture of my own. This is true. Like all my adult life, I've always just accumulated furniture from other people. I've never actually gone and bought furniture. So I've never had to know much about it. People give me furniture and I say, thank you very much. And then I just have the furniture. I don't think I've ever actually paid for furniture. I mean, I may have bought like a chair like this at some point. I don't know if I've ever even done that. There's just furniture. There's always been furniture in my life. It just kind of appears. It's weird. Maybe it's not weird. Maybe that's a universal experience. Maybe that's why we haven't been able to get rid of the couch and the lounger yet, because everybody else is already like, well, Matt, thanks for the offer of the free furniture, but we already have furniture. There's just furniture everywhere. You can't walk 10 feet without bumping into furniture. So what do we need your furniture for? So hopefully Easy G needs furniture. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I would give the numbers, but Brett's going to be calling shortly. But you can text me at 617-917-4476, tweet me at Matt Connarton, or send an email to matt@mattconnarton.com. And, of course, you can opine and interact in the Facebook live chat, and we'll say hello to everyone in there in a moment. I do want to remind you, of course, that we are proudly sponsored by the Hop Knot in the Brady Sullivan at 1000 Elm Street. Don't go there today. Monday and Tuesday is their weekend. But they will be open Wednesday through Sunday, and they're a great place to go. They have delicious gourmet pretzels. They have craft beer. They have wine. Jenny and I enjoyed, for the second time ever, the amazing pretzel pizza. And, so good. It was so good and very filling. But the Hop Knot, great food, great service, great family that owns and operates it. Kenny recently had posted on Instagram a picture of him getting vaccinated. Kenny, one of the owners of the Hop Knot, along with his mom. They were getting their shots. So they're very committed to safety, which is one of the reasons why we are so honored and proud to have them as a sponsor. The staff is fully masked at all times, even out back in the kitchen. And they have the wonderful, it's so cool, the terrace setup. I'm looking out the window at it as I'm talking to you, as though you can all, as you're listening to the show, like somehow you'll be able to see it through my eyes. I don't know why I do that. It's not like it looks any different than the last time I looked at it, so I don't know why I insist on doing that as I'm describing it. Anyway. Well, let's say hello to everyone in the Facebook live chat as we await Brett to call us. Let's see. Wayne Noel, a top fan all the way from Michigan, says, happy two-shot, Matt. Also, happy Monday. Let's see. Melanie says, surprised you're in after your second shot. Hope you're feeling okay. Yeah, I'm okay. Like I said, I'm tired and a little fuzzy-headed maybe, but I'm all right. I'm all right. I'm good enough for a radio broadcast. And this is probably Brett. Brett, is that you?
Yes, sir, it is. How you doing, Matt?
Good. How are you doing, my friend? It's wonderful to speak to you.
Yes, you as well. Thanks again for having me. It's been a while. It's been about a year and change now, right?
Yeah, it has to be. It's definitely been over a year because the last time you were on, you were in studio with us, and we haven't really had in studio guests in about a year.
Yeah. Who was your last guest? Do you remember?
Oh, I don't even remember.
Yeah, it's been such a crazy, wacky year, that's for sure.
Yeah. The only guests we've had in a long time during my show are, anybody within my household and other hosts here at WMNH sometimes drop in on my show. But
gotcha.
That's been about it. So
Absolutely.
You're probably pretty excited to be able to get out and play.
Oh man, very excited. We're fresh off our debut show, which is crazy to say because the last time we hung out at your studio, we were promoting what was supposed to be our debut show, and it was the day after COVID really showed up, and everybody was supposed to stay home and not do anything. So we ended up canceling it. So.
Wait, so this is actually going to be your debut show with Married Iguana?
So actually, we're fresh off of our debut.
Oh, right.
So Friday night we played Sweet Leaf Retreat in Northfield, Massachusetts.
Oh, okay.
Really, really early in the morning Saturday. Actually, technically was our very first show. Yeah, it was a blast, man. It was this awesome festival and. Bunch of other great bands. Whalen Park played. They ripped. The Humans Being, which is a band that seems like we're going to be partnering up with a lot in the future. Really, really great guys and an even better group. I mean, they were absolutely phenomenal. If you have a chance to check them out, if you haven't already, then definitely try spinning them on your show because they're fantastic. It was a great time. We you know what happens with some of these festivals is you get all these bands and sometimes things run a little late and your bands are excited you're playing a little longer, so we were originally supposed to play at 10, then it got bumped to 11:30, and then I don't think we even really got on the stage until about 1 a.m. Saturday morning.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so we were wiped, and my son is in an AAU basketball team, and we ended up getting into our hotel room about 2:30, 3 a.m. and then had to go to the tournament in Hampton up here in New Hampshire. So we drove from Northfield to Hampton. My wife and I woke up at like 5:15 to make sure we were able to hit the tournament. So it was pretty unreal feeling, going from a stoner festival in Northfield, Mass, to a kids basketball tournament at 8 a.m. in the morning the next day. So it was a lot of fun. So.
Where is I don't even have any concept of where Northfield is.
Yeah, so it's closer to make it, put it in Granite State terms. It's close to Keene, so it's about a half hour south of Keene.
Oh, okay. So that is a haul to go from there to Hampton.
Wow. Yeah. And I'm in Hudson, so it took me about an hour and a half drive to get there, which wasn't, you can't complain, like you said. I mean, that was the first time I had personally, played in front of, people, besides my wife and, maybe a couple of our jam room buddies in 6 months. So it was really good to get out there. And then speaking of my wife, it's going to be her 30th birthday on Wednesday, and I know she's in my living room, two rooms away, watching it on the TV right now.
Oh.
So happy birthday, hon.
Very good. Very good. Happy birthday to her. Wonderful.
Yeah.
So that,
Hey, I want to say something too, Matt. Is
yes,
that Mr. I Buy and Sell Everything sign, has that been there for a while, or is that new?
that is a very recent addition, and I didn't even
Yeah.
know. You sound like you know the story. I didn't even know the story until someone explained to me about how the gentleman was murdered and the murder had gone unsolved for a long time, and then Bill Barry and another gentleman solved it and everything. But I didn't know. I didn't know any. Of course,
Yeah.
I didn't grow up in Manchester. I didn't know about any of that until someone explained it to me. When I first got
Yeah.
here, the first day that was there, I was clueless. I texted Peter White and I asked if this was a new sponsor of the station because I had no idea, and he kind of let me in on what it was all about.
It's funny. I did grow up in Manchester, and I just remember the sign, and I remember my dad, and my parents, not my mom as much, but my dad going in there and, just either pawning stuff off for some extra dough or just seeing what he had. He had a vast variety of items in that shop, and I just remember it being, when I was a kid, it was Sega Genesis and,
Yeah.
Super Nintendos and stuff. So I was sitting there going, oh man, they're, trying to get my dad to buy me new video games and whatnot, and get it. See what else I could get myself into in the store. But yeah, I did know he was murdered, but I didn't, I didn't know that it had gone unsolved or anything like that, and what had eventually ended up happening with the whole story. I just, remember the story.
Yeah, I think it was I think it was a cold case for maybe a decade, and then Bill Barry solved it. So yeah,
Gotcha.
it's quite a wild story. But so this will only be your second show with Married Iguana on May 4th. That's amazing.
It's crazy to say, yeah. It's going to be our second show, and we're, we played, and again, we just talked about the Sweet Leaf Northfield show. But yeah, it's going to be really, really exciting being able to finally play in Manchester to a hometown crowd, and just really finally show off what we've been working for. I mean, we've been out there on social media, but we've really been kind of hiding out there in our studio in Nashua, and really just trying to keep to ourselves. I mean, you've heard our rehearsal dinner EP, and I appreciate all the times you've, spun the disc for us and whatnot. And we're really proud of that EP, but even ever since then, we've changed members a little bit and reformatted the group a tiny bit. So it's been a lot of fun. We've been working on this project since the very end of 2019. So it's been, about a year and a half now that we've been really grinding on this music. So to just finally be able to play to people, and, especially in Manchester where, where a lot of the magic happens for us local groups, it's going to be, and especially on a stage like Jewel, the owner, John's a really good guy, and Jiggy throwing the show on for us, which is great. We're ecstatic to play. So.
Yeah, the last time I was at a live show, it was at Jewel, I think, unless I'm forgetting something, and it was to see Edgewise was opening for LA Guns, and then I think
yep.
I think that was the last show that I saw in Manchester pre-COVID. So yeah. And
Edgewise is a great band. I've known Chris, just through all the musician circuit, around the area for several years, and we've always talked about working together, but just haven't, obviously we probably a little harder these days with COVID and all that, but well, I'm sure once we all get our shots and do what we need to do, I'm sure we'll get in the studio together and play some thrash or something.
Oh yeah, well, obviously, I mean, things are beginning to normalize with the vaccinations, and New Hampshire has done so well with that.
Absolutely.
So that's allowing things to really kind of open up. There must be is there a capacity limit at Jewel with that, or how does that work, or do you know?
Yeah, so there is. I sadly don't have the information on how many they're allowing in. I know it's the typical standard, to these days, masks and, keeping apart from everybody, and, obviously no contact, everything like that. So just spacing and they're I know I want to say it's 50%, but it could even be less. Again, I'm just kind of talking at this point because I'm not quite sure. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if they end up having to turn people away, then you can say, "Oh, you sold out. You sold out the place. Sold out the place."
That would be the plan. Where you have people, freezing their butts off outside waiting to get in. Unless it's a nice night, people can just hang out and do what they want to do and wait for us to, if people want to leave.
Yeah. And what is did I see on Facebook? So May 4th is also Star Wars Day.
Yeah, may the fourth be with you, Matt.
Oh, see, I'm more of a Trekkie, so I forgot about that. But then I happened to see it on Facebook. I was like, oh, Star Wars Day. I forgot about the May the 4th. Yeah.
I've always dug the Star Wars thing. I can't say I'm, head over heels in love with that whole, phenomenon or whatnot, but I know our bass player Ian's very into it, and
Yeah.
I think that was him and Jiggy's thing of saying, hey, let's throw a show on this day to kind of be funny, and I'm sure we'll, on Friday night, I ended up wearing a pseudo wedding dress, and Ian threw on a imitation tuxedo of some sort, and we ended up doing a marriage, as for our band Married and Gone, and the band name obviously. So we joked around and did something like that and dressed up a little bit. So I'm sure when we get together this week for rehearsal, we'll talk about something fruity to wear for the show, and I'm sure it'll be Star Wars related. So.
Yeah, may as well. Absolutely. So Humans Being, and what's the other band I saw? What has Science Done?
Yeah, so this will. They actually we played Cookout here actually at my house last 4th of July, and it's What Has Science Done is our drummer Tyrell. That's his other band that he's been working on for actually probably the better part of 2-3 years now. They've been kind of doing the same thing. They've been hiding out before hiding out and social distancing was cool. They were already doing that on us, so they've been cooking up some very interesting material. It's an all instrumental band. They might have a few, surprises vocally, but I'll let them, advertise and do what they want to do on that. But they're a really interesting project. It's a lot of even it's like math rock basically, a lot of like progressive, almost heavy at times. So it's a very interesting band, and we're looking forward to sharing the stage with those guys and letting them get their feet wet on stage as well.
Cool. And what's kind of your long-term plan? Are you going to try to play a lot of shows this summer? Are you booking a lot of shows?
Absolutely. Well, that's the plan. We've got a few on the radar right now. So we're just kind of taking it all as it comes in, basically. So once we hear about something, either, we'll inquire, or Ian, our bass player, has been kind of the, go-to guy for getting gigs. So, he kind of seeks them out or hears about them first and runs it by us. And most times so far that, there have been shows available, dates available to us, we've tried to scoop them up the best we can. But, we're all in other projects, as I was just mentioning. So it's can be kind of tough sometimes managing the schedule and, just between personal lives and rehearsals and other gigs and whatnot. It's been a little tricky in that regard. But we're squeezing them in the best way we can. So we're happy to play, and it's just nice to have a couple things on the calendar here and there. So happy.
And I think this summer too, because there's obviously a lot of pent up desire for live music. So I think as things continue to normalize, I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to want to see you play.
Absolutely. We're really looking forward to it. Just everything in general with our group, we're really happy with what we have going on right now. And then, just the live shows is just the cherry on top right now. Just to play Friday night, finally, after all this time, it was a really rewarding feeling to get off the stage and just to say we did it.
No doubt.
We were feeling very proud and then happy with how it all went. So we're excited going forward.
Do you remember who was with you when you were here in studio with us? Was it Alfred?
Yeah, it was our former drummer Axel was with me.
Oh,
it was
Axel
and I that came in, and Axel's in a couple of different projects himself. He we had a bit of a falling out honestly afterwards, but I'm pretty sure he's still with Dead Harrison, and he had a brief stint with the Faith Ann band. He's kind of one of those guys, as it seems like we all are these days, who has a couple of different tricks up his sleeve, and has a couple of different bands he's with. So he's staying active, and I haven't talked to him now in a couple months, but last time I checked, he was doing well.
Oh, okay, all right, that's good. Boy, how could I forget somebody with a name like Axel?
Yeah, right. Yeah, at the time he had long dreads too, long black or dark brown, I guess you could say, but long dark brown dreads. So he's the type of guy you can't miss. So.
Yeah, it's coming back to me now. It's coming back to me.
Yeah, Absolutely. Yeah, we just ended up, reformatting once COVID hit. I ended up relocating. Actually, we moved out of Manchester. My wife and I took our kids to Hudson, and tried to get out of the city a bit, and relocated jam rooms to Nashua. And the same drummer that's in my cover group actually joined us in Married Iguana, and it just was a better fit musically for everybody. And it just has been, we've just been nonstop ever since. It seems like we hit the ground running. You learn the tunes that we, had with the other lineup of guys, and we're just, keeping it alive, man. The best we can with what we've got,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so where should people go online to find you guys? I know you've got music on YouTube.
Yep, we've got it on. Yep, YouTube is one of them. I mean, it's one of those things that's, there's more streaming platforms than I can even begin to list at this point, Matt. But we've got it on Spotify, Amazon Music, iTunes, like you just said, YouTube. I mean, we have some video and audio from the gig on Friday that, a little spoiler alert, we might release sometime in the near future as it, once it gets edited and sent to us and whatnot. So that's something to keep an eye out, which will feature at least 4 or 5 new songs that people haven't even heard from us yet. So we're looking forward to hearing what that sounds like and what it looks like, and we'll be able to shoot that out sometime over the next couple weeks, hopefully. So we're looking forward to getting that in.
Outstanding. All right, my friend. Well, why don't you, give the show the big plug one more time, so we make sure people know about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're May 4th at Jewel from 9 to 12. Again, it's our band Married Iguana. We get the Humans Being and What Has Science Done. And after this, actually, you'll be able to catch an article about us with my buddy Michael Whithouse from the Hippo on Thursday. You'll see a big article pumping up the show a little bit more. And, if you're listening and you're vaccinated or you're okay to come out and you're interested in checking us out, we'd love to have you. I believe it's $10 at the door. And I want to thank Jiggy again for booking us, and obviously Michael from the Hippo, and of course you, Matt, for having me on the show today. It's May 4th at Jewel, so we can't wait to see everybody.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's great to talk to you, Brett. And, hopefully we can do it again soon in person. After May 10th, we're going to start having guests in here again. We'll figure that out. And in a moment, I'm going to play, I really like that track, The Flow. I'm going to play that once we get off the phone with you. But thank you so much for calling in, and feel free to call too, the day of the show if you want to buzz us again and just kind of remind everybody too. That would be awesome. But congratulations. I'm sure it's going to be, you did play recently, so I'm sure it's great to finally be able to get out there and play again. So I'm happy for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Matt. And again, I appreciate all the support and, plugging the shows for us and, spinning the music we've already got. And anytime you want me to come on and flap my gums, man, I'm happy to chat with anybody. So it's always a pleasure to speak to you.
Very cool. Very cool. We will, we'll figure that out soon. All right, Brett, thank you so much for the call, my friend. Take care.
Thank you. Take it easy, Matt.
You got it. Bye-bye. All right. That was Brett Higgins from Married Iguana. What we'll do is, obviously it's not the top of the hour yet, but let's take a break. I want to play this track, The Flow. This is kind of my personal favorite of theirs. And then we will come back. We'll say hello to everybody in the chat and so on and so forth. But here it is. This is The Flow by Married Iguana. There you go. That is The Flow from Married Iguana here on Matt Connarton Unleashed on this Monday afternoon from the studios of WMNH 95.3 FM. Thank you again to Brett Higgins for calling in from the band Married Iguana to talk about the show again. That is May 4th. Married Iguana. Jigs Music presents Married Iguana with special guest The Humans Being and What Has Science Done? And May the 4th be with you, by the way. That is Star Wars Day. I forgot all about that until I asked him. But that's going to be at Jewel right here in Manchester. So very good. I look forward to being able to see live shows again. I'm not personally going to be up for anything like that until May 10th, because then we'll be 14 days out from my second Pfizer vaccine. I am high risk. If you're watching online, you can see I'm wearing my asthma shirt, this wonderful shirt that Jenny got me after I was diagnosed with asthma. And it says asthma because in all the things I can be bad at, I suck at breathing. So there you go. And if you're a longtime listener, you already know, we think I might have had COVID, and COVID permanently damaged my lungs because I didn't have asthma before. So, Christmas night of 2019, we now know COVID was in the United States at that point, but we didn't know it then. We didn't know about COVID then. Remember, Christmas night of 2019. So the end of 2019, I ended up in the emergency room with breathing issues. And next thing you know, oh, you have asthma. It's like, I've never had asthma before, because it's something you're usually diagnosed with when you're, when you're a kid. You don't find out in your 40s you have asthma. Although apparently it's not that uncommon, but usually it's, somebody who's like a lifelong smoker or somebody develops a lung issue like that. But so we'll never know. We'll never know. But it's possible that I had COVID at that point. And it damaged my lungs. And now I just, have to use an inhaler every morning. Which is, I'm not going, oh, poor me. I mean, boy, there's worse things. I mean, don't get me wrong. Asthma is scary in the sense that if you have an asthma attack and you don't have a rescue inhaler or something, you can, die because you can't, breathe. So it's very scary in that sense, but it's not scary in the sense that it's very easily dealt with. I use an inhaler every day in the morning, a maintenance inhaler, and then I carry a rescue inhaler in case I have another asthma attack. But so far, so good. So, anywho, that's my story. I do feel a little clearer. I think Brett might have done me some good because I was feeling a little foggy headed earlier, and which I assume is from the my second Pfizer shot, but I do feel a little bit clearer now. So who knows? Maybe it's all in my head. Well, it is all in my head because it's I'm not really any better. Let's be honest. I'm still just a rambling mess, but that's okay. Hey, as vaccine side effects go, overall, I'm doing pretty well. Not as tired as I was. Okay. Anyway. Let's give the numbers, 603-250-6007 if you would like to call, 603-250-6007. You can also text me at 617-917-4476. Tweet me at Matt Connarton or send an email to matt@mattconnerton.com. You can also interact and opine in the Facebook live chat. So you have a myriad of ways to communicate. But the best thing to do so that we can hear and enjoy your dulcet tones is to give us a call at 603-250-6007. Would love to talk with you. We will say hello to everybody in the Facebook live chat. I think I mentioned earlier, Wayne Noel, top fan from Michigan, joins us, as well as Melanie La Liberty is in the chat room. Wayne says, you are reminding me of the dashboard bobbleheads. I think Wayne is referring to earlier when the music was playing at the top of the show and I was kind of bopping my head. I do kind of look like a dashboard bobblehead because, I'm Irish, and Irish people, we have very large heads. So I kind of look like a South Park character. That's how I think of it. I got this big Irish melon. So when I'm bopping my head around, I look like a bobblehead. Brian Mackey joins us all the way from Idaho. Brian, of course, host of the No More Excuses podcast. And if you're watching online, you can see I've got on my No More Excuses hat. I think I saw in the newest edition, I think it actually is titled No More Excuses with Tony and Bry, I think. So he's been doing that. Brian's been doing the podcast since it came back with our friend Tony D from Philly. So they have teamed up on it, and it's been very good. You know, they continue to talk about mental health issues and such. And we don't really hear from Tony anymore, but it sounds like he's been extraordinarily busy. So, but let's see. DJ Midas is in the chat room. Hello, DJ Midas. Midas, of course, a top fan and part of the WMNH family. He hosts Late Night Delight, which you can hear every Saturday night beginning at 12 midnight all the way to 4 a.m. with a replay on Sunday night. So always nice to see Midas in there. Charles Robinson joins us. Charles Robinson from the Charles Richardson. Where did I get Robinson? Isn't that a basketball player named Charles Robinson or something? Wow. Okay, I was wrong. I'm still very fuzzy-headed from the vaccine. Not that I'm complaining. I'd rather deal with a day of that than getting COVID. Charles Richardson from the Charles Richardson Show on Raw Talk Online. Charles says, yo, 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 happy Monday. LOL, yeah, right. Monday is happy, STFU. Oh, my goodness. Well, Monday can be happy. Any day can be happy if you want it to be. Or it can be miserable. I had a miserable day yesterday. My anxiety was out of control. I don't know why. I don't know what triggered it. I posted something about it on Facebook. By the way, thank you for all the positive comments. I really did. You know, if you're a longtime listener, you know I do struggle with depression and anxiety at times. And speaking of hypnosis, I use hypnosis and meditation to try to, manage it, But, and I did some of that yesterday. I stopped and did not a full hypnotherapy session, but with myself. You can do self-hypnosis. I mean, meditation is really a form of hypnosis and so forth. But I found a nice, just a 10-minute, I found it on YouTube. I should share it out. Other people might find it helpful. Like a 10-minute brain reset, and it did help. But yeah, my anxiety yesterday was terrible. Terrible. I felt like the world was ending, and I don't know why. I don't know what made me feel that way. But, it's the old chemical imbalance in the brain, I guess. Let's see. Wayne says, you feel normal? Are you sure you can remember what normal is? Oh, I don't know. Kim Martin joins us in the Facebook live chat. Kim said, what's normal? And she said, I was going to go do that right now. I think she was referring to when I was talking earlier about how I need to lie down and take a nap. Melanie replied to Kim, a wise man once told me it is setting on a dryer. I'm confused. Abigail Jem joins us in the chat room. Hello, Abigail. Scott Robinson joins us, and Scott was saying earlier, we need hopwood, either regular hopwood or evil hopwood. Something has to give here. Well, I'm not aware of an evil John Hopwood. I've never seen John Hopwood with facial hair because, as everyone knows from Star Trek, the original series, of course, you can tell the evil version of someone if they have like a Fu Manchu going on. But so I don't know of an evil John Hopwood. I only know of John Hopwood. Now, there is a virtual John Hopwood who occasionally likes to chime in, and we have no control over him. He just, but talking about him, he'll probably wake up, and he just communicates with us through the computer. But,
Aren't you supposed to swear on?
Oh, geez, there he is. See, that's what we get for talking about him. We've woken up virtual John Hopwood. Oh, wow.
About 7 or 8 inches.
All right, that's enough out of you, and quit bragging.
I don't know who that is, and I don't care.
Okay. Well, whatever. There you go. I mean, you got virtual John Hopwood if you wanted him, Scott. I just,
listen to somebody. I'm not just saying Lenny Bruce or something, and, get a better routine.
Oh, he's so cantankerous. Hello to Shannon McGuire in the Facebook live chat. Also, Miriam Banish joins us. Hello, Miriam. Let's see. Oh, Miriam says, spring break Friday will be 2 weeks after second Moderna. Yeah, and I believe someone correct me if I'm wrong, or Miriam, although it sounds like from what you're saying here that it's the same as with Pfizer. Pfizer, according to everything I've read with Pfizer, you're considered fully vaxxed, upwards of 95 to 97% 2 weeks after your second shot. I assume it's the same with Moderna about 2 weeks afterward. And for those who don't know, by the way, and this is probably a good thing to remind people of, it's not like you get vaccinated and then, hey, you're good. It's time to party. It takes a couple of weeks for your body to respond to the vaccine, where it's, building up that immunity, the antibodies and so forth. It takes a little bit of time for your body to effectively do that. So, and for God's sake, make sure you get the second shot, by the way. I'm amazed at, I don't know what the numbers are here in New Hampshire, but I guess nationally something like 8% of people who get the first shot are blowing off the second shot. I mean, I understand why some people might do that. And again, if it's a Johnson & Johnson, it doesn't matter. There's only one shot. But if it's the Moderna or the Pfizer, don't you want the maximum amount of protection? But apparently, I saw an interview with Dr. Fauci. I think it was on CNN. He was saying that it's not unusual. In his experience, a lot of people do that because there's other types of vaccines that are two-shot vaccines. I didn't know this because the only vaccine I've ever gotten, aside from the, like tetanus or whatever, but, the standard shots that you get, the only other vaccine I've ever gotten is the flu shot, which is one shot. So I didn't know that there were some vaccines that require a second shot, but there are. But according to what Dr. Fauci was saying, it's actually not unusual for people to blow off the second shot. And he has seen that quite a bit throughout his career. But apparently the current estimation is about 8% of people so far have missed their appointments for their second shot. They just didn't go. Now, granted, maybe some people didn't go because something happened that prevented them from going, but something beyond their control. But 8%, that's a lot of people. We're trying to get to herd immunity here, folks. Let's, you went for the first one, go for the second one. Get the maximum amount of immunity you can. I mean, I don't know. People probably rationalize it in their brain and say, well, they say after that first shot, you get up to 80% immunity. 80%, that's good enough. And don't get me wrong, 80% is fantastic, of course. That's higher than the efficacy of the flu shot that they give out every year. But still, this is a serious pandemic. You want the maximum amount of immunity. Go get your second shot. Jeez. I mean, why not? Anyway. I was really surprised to hear that many people are missing their second shot. Let's see. Shannon McGuire says, I'm drinking water right along with you, Matt. Dose number 2 this morning as well. Yes, excellent. Yes, we must hydrate. Very important to hydrate after the vaccine. Well, just generally. Most Americans don't drink enough water, myself included, I'm sure. Shannon says, how did you feel after the second dose? Well, so far, I got very, very tired earlier, and I'm still tired, but I usually get a good boost of adrenaline from the show. So who knows? Perhaps as soon as the show's over, I'll just fall out of my chair unconscious. But right now, I feel okay. A little fuzzy headed, but I'm okay. So, but after that first shot, a couple days later, I slept for 12 hours. Abigail says, you have COVID vaccine brain. I've forgotten words and what I was doing lately. I blame the shots. Yeah, I mean, I've had a little bit of that today. Miriam said, terrible the day after, but good by Sunday, a temp of 102. Oh, you had a 102 temperature after the vaccine? Wow. Well, but keep in mind, and for anyone who doesn't know, having a reaction, having side effects to the vaccine is not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. That is an indication that your body is responding appropriately to the vaccine and is building that immunity. You're having the immune response that you're supposed to have. So it's actually a good thing. So you shouldn't be worried about it. And that does not mean, by the way, though, that does not mean that if you don't have any kind of response, any kind of side effects, that's a bad thing or the vaccine isn't working. But if you do have that, it is a positive sign. So, you shouldn't panic if you're tired or whatever afterward. Let's see. Miriam says, my brain is like that without the vax. glad I got it on a Friday. Regarding the couch and the lounger. So Miriam says you can donate it to Habitat for Humanity and they will pick it up. I had not thought of that, Miriam. I will look into that. I'll wait until we know for sure if EZG wants that couch. But if he doesn't want the couch, I will look into the Habitat for Humanity option. Mike Pelopita joins us in the chat. Mike, of course, from another one of our wonderful sponsors here at WMNH 95.3 Queen City Cabinetry. Mike's a big supporter of all the shows here and of WMNH. Brian Mackey says, hey, question, can you hypnotize yourself? Oh, absolutely. Well, here's the thing. So we go into states of hypnosis thousands of times a day and don't even realize it. Anytime that you are, say I'll give you a couple examples. Let's say, for example, you're reading a book and you become so engrossed in your book, or maybe you're watching a television show or a movie or whatever it is. You become so engrossed and hyper-focused on what you're doing that you lose track of what's going on around you. And maybe somebody says your name to get your attention and you don't even hear them. You're oblivious because you're so focused on whatever it is you're paying attention to. That's actually a form of hypnosis because you're engaging your imagination and your subconscious mind to focus on whatever it is that you're paying attention to. So the real world just kind of isn't there to you. You're in an altered state. That is an example of self-hypnosis. Or another example would be, say you drive the same route to work every day. Well, if you're like me, while you're driving, your mind is probably going off in a million other directions and you're not consciously paying attention to driving. Now, subconsciously you are, but consciously you're not. So in other words, when you're driving, you're not actively thinking, okay, I need to accelerate here. I need to brake here. I need to turn here. You just do it. It becomes completely automatic while you're daydreaming or thinking about whatever else you're preoccupied with, right? So you're taking yourself with your mind out of your present reality and focusing on something else outside of your present reality. These are examples of hypnosis. So we do this thousands of times a day without realizing it. But what you're doing with self-hypnosis is you're deliberately sitting and, meditation. Meditation is a form of hypnosis, and hypnosis is a form of meditation. They're the same thing. So anytime that you're using your imagination in a way to take you out of your present reality, even if you're just sitting quietly by yourself and you're remembering something or you're thinking about something that you're planning to do in the future, these are examples. Anytime that you're using your imagination in any way, these are examples of self-hypnosis. But what you also can do is you can actually put yourself into a deeply hypnotic state. And it's pretty easy to learn. You can sit quietly and it helps if you've been through the process. It helps if someone else has done a session with you to learn how to do it. But you can learn to sit quietly and comfortably by yourself and count back from, 10, 9, 8, and just very easily without even trying very hard. In fact, it's better not to try too hard. Just sort of let it happen. You can talk yourself into a state of hypnosis where you're then able to make positive changes and sort of rewire your brain in a way that is helpful to you and then bring yourself out of it. And it's actually very easy to do, but if you've ever done any kind of meditation, you already know how to do it. You might just not realize. Some people are surprised when I explain to them how hypnosis and meditation are interchangeable, and they're really the same thing, but they are. So absolutely. You can also, and I used to do this, although the reason I don't do it anymore and why I haven't done it in many years is kind of funny, but I used to actually, and this was before I learned how to do hypnosis professionally, I would make recordings. I would pick issues or things that I wanted to change about how my mind works, and I would record hypnosis sessions that I would then sit and listen to and go through the process. The reason I had to stop is, and I don't exactly know why this happened. I got to the point where I couldn't do that anymore because my own voice began to irritate me, which probably sounds really bizarre coming from a guy who sits here for 2 hours a day and listens to his own voice in headphones while talking into a microphone. But for some reason, I couldn't record my own sessions anymore for my own personal use, because I would record something and then I would sit there and listen to it, and instead of going into a state of hypnosis, I would become annoyed with hearing my own voice. Really weird. So I stopped doing it that way, but I can put myself into a state of hypnosis. I can sometimes I'll go on YouTube and I'll just find hypnosis sessions that others have recorded, and I'll sample them, either because I think they might be helpful to me, or sometimes I'm just interested in what other hypnotherapists are doing, what approaches they're using, how they're the inductions that they're doing. Induction is the term for when you bring someone into a state of hypnosis. So, but yeah, so that's my very long-winded way of answering your question, Brian. Yes, you can hypnotize yourself. Absolutely. Rob Dion is a top fan in the Facebook live chat, part of the WMNH family. He is the host of Through the Stage Door and the entertainment reporter on The Morning Show with Peter White. Rob appears on Thursday mornings. He brings in his keyboard and they do Name That Tune, a very popular segment. Rob is asking, did I miss Easy's call? No, we haven't heard from Easy G today, but he was on The Morning Show this morning, so he might have had enough of the radio for today. I don't know. Melanie says 2 weeks is the timeline for all 3 vaccines for people to be fully vaccinated. Okay, excellent. Stephen Philbrook says, Maura and I have fully vaxxed. To celebrate last Saturday, we spent lots of time at the Hop Knot. Wonderful. That is wonderful to hear. She really enjoyed, per your suggestion, the bagel pizza, the pretzel pizza. I enjoyed many, many, many drinks from Kenny. Excellent. That is wonderful to hear, Stefan. Thank you for mentioning that. Tom Blanchard joins us in the chat room. Tom says, hi, Matt. After the second shot and 2 weeks later, I'm still going to stay away from someone who doesn't have a mask on. Well, that I'll tell you what, you will never hear me questioning taking all the precautions that you wish to. I think that's a good idea, especially since I feel like there's still a little bit of an open question about this. How much of a risk it still poses in that you can see, here's the thing. We have to remember this, and this gets lost, but you can still get COVID after you've been vaccinated. The vaccine does not necessarily prevent you from getting COVID if you're exposed to someone with COVID. What the vaccine does is it prevents you from getting very sick. So the vaccine will keep you out of the hospital, and it will, if you get COVID, your symptoms may be very mild, or they may not happen at all. You might be entirely asymptomatic, but you might still be carrying the virus, which means if you're vaccinated, but you're actually still carrying the virus, you might risk spreading it unknowingly because you have no symptoms and you've been vaxxed. You might risk carrying it spreading it to someone else who has not yet been vaccinated. Or, you might still pick it up from someone. You might be fully vaxxed, but you might be in the company of someone who, hell, you might be in the company of someone else who's been fully vaxxed, but they still picked up the virus and they may still give it to you. And then you've got it and you've been fully vaxxed. So you're asymptomatic, but you might then pass it to someone who has not been fully vaxxed. So I know that there's still some of this that's being determined about. I guess now they're saying the risk of that, like the risk of that scenario that I just presented is probably infinitesimally small, but it is there. It is there. EZG, Karen Cubitt in the chat room says, EZG said on the morning show that he had a 4:30 doctor's appointment this afternoon. All right. So that would explain it. So we may not hear from EZG. We are past the top of the hour. Let's take a break. I'm going to play a couple things. I'm going to show some love to our sponsors, of course, and very important, I'm going to refill my water so I can continue to hydrate. But I think this will be an appropriate song. We'll play the Vaccination Day song from the Holderness family. And I think we'll play another track from Married Iguana as well. But you're tuned in to Matt Connarton Unleashed. We are live from the studios of WMNH 95.3 FM on this Monday. And stick around. Welcome back, everybody. We are way into hour number 2, numero dos of Matt Connarton Unleashed. In fact, we only have about 28 minutes left. We are live from the studios of WMNH 95.3 FM in glorious downtown Manchester, New Hampshire. Also on Comcast 97 if you're in Manchester, streaming at WMNHradio.org. and mattconnerton.com, and hello to our friends at Raw Talk Online. It is a Monday, April 26, 2021, and I have had my second dose of the Pfizer vaccine. So if you're just joining us, if I seem a little out of sorts, my arm hurts a little bit, and I'm tired. I'm definitely feeling the fatigue, but I'm okay. You know, doing the show gives me the adrenaline boost I need to carry on. And then as soon as I'm off the air, I will probably fall out of this chair and onto the floor. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm actually okay. But yes. So I'm not quite as sharp as normal, or maybe I am as sharp as normal, and I'm just thinking perhaps I have delusions of grandeur about how sharp I usually am. I don't know. But if you'd like to get in with a call, please do so. 603-250-6007 is the number. 603-250-6007. You can also text me at 617-917-4476. Tweet me at Matt Connarton, or send an email to matt@mattconnerton.com. And of course, you can always interact and opine in the Facebook live chat. But the best thing to do is give us a call at 603-250-6007. By the way, I keep getting these Facebook notifications, and I'm going to have to check them out. Remember our old friend, Crazy Joe? I keep getting these notifications that the Crazy Joe show is live right now. And I need to check out what he's doing. Crazy Joe, kind of a legend here at WMNH. I mean, he never had a show here on WMNH, but he used to call this show and he used to call the morning show, and things would tend to go awry. But apparently he's back at it. I guess he's just doing I guess he's just doing his show now live on Facebook. I would, I could actually go to his show right now. It says the Crazy Joe Show is live. I'm going to look at what he's doing. Yep, there he is. Now, the thing is, he's getting up to go do, he looks different. And he just got up and left the thing. Now, I could stream his Facebook audio. Oh, he's back and he's smiling. Yeah, he looks different. I wonder if he, I don't know. I mean, I could actually stream him live on this show, but the problem is he swears a lot. So I would just end up having to hit the dump button, take advantage of that 8-second delay that we have, right? Let's see. Do we dare? Let's just see what we got here.
I'm moving and I'm lifting things. I'm not moving from here. I'm moving from over there to over here. I'm very tired. Very tired because all that equipment that you see back there, I did it myself. And the reason I did it myself was because I'm not entrusting some...
Okay, I can just tell he's going to swear. So I decided to pull that down, but he's talking about moving equipment around in his studio. So I don't know. Well, God bless you, Crazy Joe. You know, I'm gonna hang out in his chat room here while I'm doing the show. He looks good. He looks like he cleaned himself up. And I miss Crazy Joe. I saw great potential in him, but then he would get furiously angry. It was like if you were nice to him and tried to help him and make suggestions, he would turn on you. And then we talked to Jesse P.S. from Pod Awful, and it turned out he was familiar with Crazy Joe. But we even have some audio that Peter White clipped of one of Crazy Joe's calls.
But I didn't make the rules. I just play the game. So don't hate the player. Hate the game. And with that said... You like that one? Let me tell you something. You get me a job at that station.
Yeah, that's, the legend of Crazy Joe. Now, do I dare turn the audio back up on this on his live stream?
1925. I'm not really sure when it was built, but I don't know, man. I hear so much shit out.
Oh. All right. I don't think that quite got through, but I did hit the dump on it. So it didn't go out on FM. Oh, boy. All right. Well, anyway, Melanie in the chat says swearing is just talking in cursive. I am going to go back and watch that later because I am legitimately curious what he is talking about. Good old Crazy Joe, huh? All right. Eric Street, who is a top fan in the Facebook live chat, says, is he live streaming on Facebook? Yeah, I just dropped the link into the Facebook live chat to Crazy Joe's live stream. Feel free to check it out, Eric, and report back to us. But he looks good. He looks healthy. You know, he's done something different to himself. So, but my experience with Crazy Joe was, and I know this was, I was not the only one to experience this. I remember trying to make suggestions for him, and he just turned on me. But he turns on everybody. I remember there was one of his live shows, one of his live streams on Facebook. Miriam Banish was in the chat room and was being very nice to Crazy Joe, and all of a sudden Crazy Joe just turned on her. How do you turn on Miriam? She's so nice. And then Texas Mike also would be in there, and Crazy Joe was a little nicer to Texas Mike, but I think he told him he was going to block him or something. It's just, it's crazy. But what do you expect? His name's Crazy Joe. But anyway. What should we do? We only have a little bit of time left on today's show. Should we get into this thing about critical race theory, or would it be better to do that on a day that I have not just been vaccinated and I'm a little more clear-headed? I'm thinking the latter. I wanted to look at, so I saw something. Now, let me say this. I have been very happy with the Biden administration on overall, the vaccine rollout and so forth. I give, in fact, on the handling of the pandemic, I give them an A+. I give President Biden an A+. The border situation, not so much. I think they need to figure out something here. But what is this? What is this I see? This has me alarmed, my friends. According to media, I saw something about this earlier, but I didn't get a chance to look at it more closely. Something about burgers. President Biden has a problem with burgers. Now, I love a good burger. So this is, even though I think meat is murder, I'm basically a carnivore. So I have a built-in excuse. It says here, Fox News' John Roberts issues correction to viral segment on Biden burger crackdown. What is this about? So it says here, Fox News anchor John Roberts issued a fact check regarding a false claim about President Joe Biden's climate plan and what it means for burgers that rocketed around conservative media over the weekend. So Roberts corrected the record today, and here's what he said. On Friday, we told you about a study from the University of Michigan to give some perspective on President Biden's ambitious climate change goals. The research from 2020 found that cutting back on how much red meat people eat would have a drastic impact on harmful greenhouse gas emissions. The data was accurate, but a graphic in the script incorrectly implied that it was part of Biden's plan for dealing with climate change. That is not the case. So according to Mediaite, the Fox News report that inspired this meat correction began Thursday when British tabloid The Daily Mail published a lengthy, if not loose, analysis of Biden's climate change plan, which presently does not have very many details. Nevertheless, the author cited this possible bone of contention. Writing, Americans may have to cut their red meat consumption by a whopping 90% and cut their consumption of other animal-based foods in half. Gradually making those changes by 2030 could see diet-related greenhouse gas emissions reduced by 30%, according to a study by Michigan University Center for Sustainable Systems. To do that, it would require Americans to consume about 4 pounds of red meat per year, or 0.18 ounces per day. It equates to consuming roughly one average-sized burger per month. So then Mediaite explains the problem is the Biden administration hasn't said anything about Americans needing to reduce their meat consumption. Instead, the Mail cited a University of Michigan study that appears to have no connection whatsoever to whatever climate change plan the Biden administration has in the works. Nevertheless, because truth means nothing to these people, several conservative commentators and politicians ran with the story. Larry Kudlow of Fox Business claimed Americans would have to eat Brussels sprouts instead of burgers for the 4th of July. That would upset me, by the way. Citing the false Fox News report, Governor Greg Abbott, Republican of Texas, tweeted of Biden's non-existent meat mandate, "Not gonna happen in Texas." Meanwhile, Donald Trump Jr. claimed, quote, "I'm pretty sure I ate 4 pounds of red meat yesterday. That's going to be a hard no from me," unquote. Well, this is not the first time, by the way, that meat has been a part of the political discourse in this country, of course. Back during the campaign, it was shortly after, let's see, I think I found it. Oh, here it is. Yes. It was shortly after, at that point, the Democratic nominee for the presidency, Joe Biden, had chosen. The announcement has been made. I think it was right after the Democratic convention, actually. Biden had chosen Kamala Harris to be his running mate. And we heard from Mike Pence at a campaign event in front of cattle farmers or something. We heard from Mike Pence his thought on what Kamala Harris had in mind regarding meat. And here's that clip.
We're not going to let Joe Biden and Kamala Harris cut America's meat.
That's right. And they haven't yet. By the way, that was not, just to be clear, I want everyone to understand, that wasn't satire or someone doing some funny bit. That was actual audio from a Mike Pence speech.
We're not going to let Joe Biden and Kamala Harris cut America's meat.
You can tell he meant it because you can tell he meant it by the way he pronounced the word meat. He didn't say meat. He said meat. We're not going to let Joe Biden and Kamala Harris cut America's meat. It's like, well, thank you, Mr. Vice President. Thank you for looking out for our meat. But it would appear to be unnecessary. And I'm glad about that. Eric Street in the chat room says, I'm eating barbecue ribs as we speak. So good. I have to tell you, Eric. Now, I enjoy some meat, as you know. I enjoy a good burger, for example, but I'm very, very picky. Ribs, not only do I not enjoy them, I don't enjoy watching someone else eat them. True story, I once had dinner with someone who ordered ribs, and during the meal, I had a hard time even looking directly at that person. I find ribs so disgusting. They make a big mess, and, but I'm a texture guy. I'm very picky about the texture of things. That's why I can't eat corned beef. If you're a longtime listener, you know, I believe that corned beef is the food of Satan. If there is a Satan, he is in hell right now having a big plate of corned beef. It is Satan's food. It's so disgusting. The way it's stringy. It's like meat that's already been chewed. It's gross. I mean, no offense to anyone who really likes corned beef, and I know millions of Americans think corned beef is just the greatest. But in my personal opinion, you have to be psychologically damaged in some way to actually enjoy that. It is so gross. It's like soft and stringy and ugh. And ribs I find quite disgusting. Even the way people talk about ribs, like, oh, the meat, it's so tender, the meat just falls off the bone. Ew! I don't even want to think about the meat having been on a bone. That's the nice thing about eating a hamburger. You don't have to think about how that meat used to be on a cow. All you know is it's on a patty in front of you on a bun with some ketchup and mustard and mayonnaise or whatever you put on it. You don't even have to, there is no bone to worry about. You don't have to think about the hamburger fell off a bone. There was no bone. I mean, there was at one time because it came from a cow. But you can just be oblivious to that, and ignorance is bliss, and you just eat the burger and not think about some poor animal had to die for that. But ribs? Oh, that's just nasty. That's some nasty business, those ribs. Not a fan. Not a fan. I don't object to you eating them, Eric, and I hope you're enjoying them, and it sounds like you are. But oh my goodness. Oh, it's so gross to me. Anything that makes a big mess is gross. Don't eat things that are messy like that. Ugh. I mean, you can't even avoid it. Like, you literally, if you have to put on a bib to eat something because you're going to get it all over your shirt if you don't, maybe that's something you shouldn't be eating. I don't know. I'm just putting that out there. I'm just saying. But I'm quite relieved that John Roberts of Fox News corrected that. Then again, John Roberts, he hasn't always been on Fox. He used to be on CBS. So it's possible that he's someone who actually cares about journalism. We are already almost out of time today, my friends. The show has flown by. By the way, thank you again to Brett Higgins for calling in earlier from the band Married Iguana. They've got a big show coming up May 4th with Humans Being and What Has Science Done? But I wanted to, here's something we can do just quickly. I've been meaning to get to this for a long time. And this is the kind of thing where I would be curious Oh, Shannon McGuire, by the way, in the chat says, I'm with you, Matt. My family loves barbecue chicken legs. Oh, yeah, that's some nasty business right there. Ugh. That is disgusting, Shannon. I don't know how you tolerate that. Barbecue chicken legs. Ugh. Yikes. I don't like meat off of a bone. Look, I'll enjoy some delicious chicken tenders, okay? But you're not getting meat. I don't want to think about, this animal was alive at one time. Anyway, there's this odd controversy, but, I do like to discuss issues regarding this era of deplatforming that we're in and censorship and cancel culture and all that. And I have a lot of conflicted feelings on a lot of it, and it sort of depends on the situation. Some people, I think, deserve to be canceled, quite frankly. Some people, I think, have been treated unfairly, and so on. It's a very complicated issue, and it's a lot to get into in the little bit of time that we have, but I want to just mention one very specific thing. So Joe Rogan, who I think is clearly the most successful podcaster in the history of podcasting. He signed that huge deal with Spotify after years of being primarily on YouTube. He signed the big Spotify deal, and they backed the big Brinks truck up to his home. I remember, 10 years ago, I think you could probably say at that point, Adam Carolla was he was the first one to ever reach 1 million downloads on an episode of his show. And he at that point, I think he was, clearly the most successful, but, and he's still pretty successful, but Rogan has certainly surpassed him. But an interesting thing has happened since Rogan went to Spotify. There's been these stories that have come out about Spotify employees kind of revolting against the Joe Rogan show. They don't like some of the content. And they've actually been deleting some of the episodes. So while what was supposed to happen, or at least as I understood it was, the entire catalog of episodes, and he's been doing it for well over a decade now, the entire catalog of episodes was supposed to be available on Spotify, but they've been going through and deleting some. So according to this website, therap.com, Spotify has now deleted 42 episodes of the Joe Rogan Experience. The streaming giant recently purged another 2 episodes of Rogan's popular podcast from its platform. Now, this is very interesting to me. It says here, Spotify has now deleted more than 40 episodes of the Joe Rogan Experience from its archives after the audio streaming giant recently and quietly removed 2 more episodes from its service. One of the latest episodes deleted, as first reported by Digital Music News on Tuesday, was episode number 411 with Bulletproof Coffee founder Dave Asprey. The podcast episode initially aired in November 2013, but is now unavailable to Spotify listeners, bringing the total to 3 episodes featuring Asprey that have been deleted overall. It's unclear why the episodes have been purged, but as DMN pointed out, quote, one explanation for the removals is that Asprey frequently backs controversial anti-aging and scientific theories, including claims that Bulletproof Coffee is extremely healthy while other coffee brands are not, unquote. The 47-year-old Asprey has also claimed he will live to the age of 180 at minimum, thanks to his unconventional diet and lifestyle approach. Really? Another now missing episode of Joe Rogan spotted by DMN is episode number 149, which featured several comedians, including Al Madrigal, Brian Redband, and Felicia Michaels. That episode, which was recorded live at the Ice House in Pasadena, California, debuted in 2011. Again, it's unclear why the episode has been pulled. Reps for Spotify did not immediately respond to the Rap's request for comment on why the episodes were removed. The 2 latest removals brings the total number of episodes pulled from the Rogan's archives to 42. For reference, he just released episode number 1631 on Thursday. Yeah, I mean, by the way, he's an incredibly prolific podcaster. obviously from that number. I mean, he cranks them out multiple times a week. Other installments that have been deleted include 4 episodes featuring comedian Chris D'Elia. I know why this one, who was recently accused of having sex and soliciting more than 100 nude photos from a 17-year-old girl, as well as episodes with Gavin McInnes, Eddie Bravo, Alex Jones, and Milo Yiannopoulos. Gavin McInnes, by the way, I'll just remind everyone, he's the one who started the Proud Boys and has since kind of sort of disavowed them. But Eddie Bravo, not sure why. I know he's a conspiracy theorist. Alex Jones, you can figure that one out pretty quick. And Milo Yiannopoulos, I'm not sure what the problem is with Milo. I know he got in some trouble. Spotify became the exclusive home of Rogan's popular podcast last year after signing the host to a deal worth $100 million. The Rogan-Spotify pact hasn't gotten off to the smoothest of starts, however, with a number of Spotify employees last year threatening to strike if certain episodes they claimed were transphobic weren't deleted from the platform. Others wanted Rogan removed from Spotify altogether. Rogan, during an episode released in February, confirmed he understood some of his podcast episodes would be removed when he signed with Spotify. Rogan said, quote, "There were a few episodes they didn't want on their platform, and I was like, okay, I don't care," unquote. Well, look, I gotta tell you, you signed me to a deal for $100 million. I'm not going to care either, right? I mean, money talks, but if you've never seen Rogan's show, the episodes are typically 2 to 3 hours of one-on-one conversation, and they go very deep on a number of things, and it's a style. And I'm a fan. I'm a casual fan, but I am a fan. I like that. I like that they have these very open, not ideological discussions, and they go into some dangerous topics, and maybe some controversial things are said, but it's sort of an exploratory discussion, and I like that, and I think it's healthy, and I think it's unfortunate that that Spotify is removing these episodes, but again, Rogan doesn't care. Clearly. Brian Mackey in the chat says, "Nice show today. Congrats on the shot, Matt. See everyone next trip. Be safe." Yep. If you're just joining us, Brian is referring to today was shot number 2, numero dos, of the Pfizer for me. And with Pfizer, well, with all the vaccines, apparently, you're considered fully vaccinated about 2 weeks after the final shot. So about 2 weeks from now, it will be May 10th. And at that point, we'll start to kind of open things up again as far as guests. But we've been keeping a pretty tight bubble during my show. But we will, once I'm at that point where I'm able to be considered fully vaxxed, we'll fall back on what the rules are here at the station at that point. So we'll be able to loosen my bubble up a little bit. But thank you, everybody. If you missed any part of today's show, it will be up in just a little bit at WMNHradio.org and at mattconnarton.com. Thank you again to Brett Higgins from the band Married Iguana for calling in earlier. You can tell I'm tired. I'm feeling that. I'm definitely feeling that shot. Very fatiguing, but well worth it. I'm very happy I was able to get my second shot. And that's a good feeling. Get your vaccination if you haven't done so already. And if you're here in New Hampshire, if you don't know, it is extraordinarily easy to sign up for it. Very easy to do. And make sure you get your second shot. Don't skip the second one like apparently 8% of people have done so far. Just not showing up. Don't, get your full immunity. Why not? Why not? We're all in this together, my friends. Let's get through this pandemic, and hey, hopefully we don't have to go through this again in our lifetimes. That's it for me for now. I will talk at you all, tomorrow. Sorry. Again, I'm a little clumsy today with the, I didn't have my, closing theme queued up, which is really the same as my opening theme. All right. That's it. Talk at y'all a little bit later. Bye, everybody.